ICIT Gala Benefit. For those of you I haven't had the privilege of meeting yet, my name is Parham Eftekhari, and I'm the Executive Director of ICIT. It is always a privilege to welcome you to the ICIT Gala. We do a lot of things at the Institute, either that we host or that we're involved with, but of course I'm biased, but this is by far the favorite event that we do. Obviously, St. Regis is a gorgeous venue. I always get a lot of compliments for being here. Probably the best reason that I love this the most is all of you, right? It's an opportunity for us all to get together. I hear nonstop all night that folks either haven't seen each other in years. I haven't seen many of you in either a year or 2 years, or haven't seen some of you in like 5, 6 years, which is kind of embarrassing, but it happens. I think although we're in the tech business or the national security business, we're ultimately in the people business, and I'll talk a bit about that more. And so it's so important to take time out of our jobs to build some relationships and strengthen the bonds of our community, so I'm glad that we're doing that. Of course, we're here to honor 3 incredible leaders in our community, and we'll be doing that in a few moments, so we're very excited about that and very honored that they have joined us here this evening. And of course, we're here to support our humble little organization, ICIT, to discuss and share with you what we do, the difference that we're trying to make in our community, and how all of you can support and join us in our mission. For those of you not familiar with ICIT, let me share a bit about our organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit cybersecurity think tank. Our mission is to cultivate a cybersecurity renaissance that will improve the resiliency of our nation's 16 critical infrastructure sectors, defend our democratic institutions, and empower generations of cybersecurity leaders. So how do we go about doing that? Well, it's all grounded in a foundation of objective, nonpartisan research. Now, this research comes from 3 primary areas. First is research that we create in-house. We are writing and publishing research that essentially we identify as topics that we believe are important. These topics span a number of different sectors and industries: public sector, defense industrial base, critical manufacturing, energy, finance, healthcare, you name it. The second is research that either we create with our fellows or is written and published through us by our fellows. Our fellows are either individuals or organizations that come from cybersecurity technology organizations, essentially vendors, or, which is new this year, members of critical infrastructure organizations, from healthcare, from finance, from FFRDCs, from critical manufacturing. So these folks are engaging with us and contributing to us and to our pool of knowledge. And third is now research that we are actually curating. There's a lot of great research that's created from the public sector and from academia and from the critical infrastructure community and from the vendor community that we are essentially vetting and making sure that it falls under our guidelines of being objective and nonpartisan and vendor neutral. And so we're aggregating all of these different research types. We're putting it in ICIT's digital library, and we're making it freely available. We don't gate any of our content. You don't have to access it through a portal or through any sort of a password situation. We just put it out there, it's searchable, and we share it the best that we can through newsletters, through social media, through a partner network. And because of this role that we play as a creator and aggregator of knowledge, we then have a privilege of being able to engage with the community. So ICIT, similar to this is probably the most fun thing that we do. But the other events that we do are, different models of engagement through legislative or federal advising, through roundtables, different forums and events, and obviously some virtual type concepts. So tonight's important for us. It's important for us to support our mission, to create awareness for what we do, and hopefully get you guys to become more involved and engaged, depending on the role that you play in your organization, to gain more support and expand our efforts. And so we're thrilled to have you here. Now, it's become a bit of a tradition in my opening remarks to share with the community kind of the biggest lesson that ICIT has learned each year, because our hope that after every gala is not only that you wake up, hopefully not with a big hangover, because we do have open bar here, but we also want you guys to wake up inspired. We want you to leave here having learned something, and hopefully leaving and going back to your organizations, waking up tomorrow saying, I feel empowered to tackle the missions and tackle the daily hurdles and obstacles that I face, maybe being able to view them with a new set of, with a new lens and maybe with a new perspective on how to overcome those challenges. And so this year, when I look back at what stood out to me the most and what I learned the most this year, and I think what ICIT learned the most, what I wanted to share with you was some thoughts on the importance of relationships. So ICIT, as many of you know, is a relatively young organization. We're just ending our 4th year of existence. We're about going to be next year the gala will be celebrating our 5th year, so it'll be a big extravaganza. And as you know, you just heard, I think we've done pretty well for 4 years. Published all these great papers, have our digital library, done some great events, been engaging with Congress on Capitol Hill. Just in the last 48 hours, we've been socializing one of our recent publications called the Cyber X Factor of the Savannah River site. We did a research study on the cybersecurity potential of the SRS region. You all know that Fort Gordon and the SRS National Lab is down there. We became aware of this through a partnership with some folks from down there, and we looked into it and said, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here to capitalize on the facilities down there and the synergies down there with some other local the universities and the cyber workforce down there. And we were yesterday we were meeting with staffers from Senator Lindsey Graham's office and Senator Tim Scott's office, and had some great roundtables yesterday with public-private sector partners. It's pretty cool stuff for an organization that's only 4 years old. But at the same time, we are only 4 years old, and so we're still learning. We're still trying to understand who is our community. Critical infrastructure is pretty big, and we define ourselves the way that DHS does, which is 16 sectors, so that's a lot. We're still fine-tuning our mission, so figuring out what's the best way to engage, what's the best way to fundraise. So we've made a lot of changes over this last year. We've changed our revenue model. We've changed the way that we engage our fellows. One of our co-founders has left the Institute and gone on to better things, and we're very happy for him. So there's been a lot of change. But for me, one of the biggest changes at ICIT was something that happened to me. And when you're a small organization, when the executive co-founder or the executive director has an epiphany and an aha moment, like Oprah says, it's kind of a big deal. And what I realized this year was the power of relationships. And I'm going to say it like this, and the wording is very important here, is there's a big difference between having a large network of contacts versus having a network of strong relationships. And this may not seem like a big deal, but I'll explain to you what I mean by this. So in this town in Washington, D.C., everyone loves to talk about their networks, and ironically, I just had a conversation about this at dinner, right? We live in a town where we love to talk about who we know. I know this CIO, I know this CISO. I had dinner with this, 2-star, with this 3-star. I just had dinner with, Admiral Rogers, right? I'm going to talk about this for weeks, right? People. Oh, I'm sorry, I retired. Oh, is that what it was? Ooh, I sat at the wrong table, I guess. Right? People love this. People love it. People love to throw out their contacts, particularly in this town. Literally, it's the reason why I lived here for 2 years and then I moved back to Chicago. Swear to God, right? But there's a difference between having a phone number and having an email or even being able to set up a meeting versus having a real relationship. Having a real relationship means that there is trust. Having a real relationship means that when you reach out with an idea and ask someone to support you, they'll stick their neck out for you and engage their community to get behind your idea and try to make it a reality. Having a real relationship is when you make a mistake, they're more likely to listen to your explanation of that mistake, to your explanation of that mistake and give you another chance because they know and respect you and they believe in you. And so you may be thinking like, well, why are we talking about relationships? We're a bunch of national security experts and cybersecurity experts. What does this have to do with us? Well, I'll explain to you what this has to do with us because it's extremely important. In this room, we're focused on technology and policy, and many of you are either figuratively or literally dealing with bureaucracy and politics on a daily basis. Well, what I believe is that to accomplish our goal, our collective goal of defending against nation-state, mercenaries, cyber criminal, name your APTs. The biggest weakness that we have right now is people. All right, it's not about money, it's not about technology, it's not about policies or frameworks. I really believe that we have all that, or the reason that we don't have what we need is because of the people problem. Right? It's going to come down to people to make security a priority. The legislative community passing more meaningful legislation and funding it. What advances? We want more advances in quantum computing? Well, let's fund it. Right? We want to secure our supply chain? Let's fund it. Let's make it a priority. Let's have corporations put security over profits. Let's have consumers start to speak up and demand security from manufacturers. Let's have vendors start to share information with one another, not view each other purely as competitors, right? There's a lot that we can do, but all these things come down to people starting to work together. And so our biggest obstacle and biggest opportunity to solving our cybersecurity and national security issues I believe, starts and ends with people. And the cybersecurity renaissance that's in the Institute's mission needs to be led by us, by all the people in this room, and all of our collective organizations. And we will be more effective and successful if we have strong relationships that are built on trust and built on some of the things that I mentioned. Not just a really great Rolodex of contacts that you can say that you've had dinner with or met with. So if we can come together as teams within our organizations, as well as across our sectors, across our agencies, even across political parties, which I know it seems like cannot happen these days, or across supply chains or across competing vendors, I believe that we can leverage these resources that we have and apply them to these complex issues. So I could go on and on, but as I was saying at lunch or at dinner this evening, ICIT promises efficient and powerful programs. So I'm going to keep this short. But hopefully that you can reflect on these comments and think about how you can implement this on your spheres of influence, because I really do believe that this is one of the most important things that's really lacking or not focused on enough in the conversations that we have as part of our cybersecurity community. And my commitment to you is that I will do my best, and ICIT will do its best to build strong relationships with all of you. It's always really humbling to look out and see the caliber of folks that we bring to the room every year at our gala and the folks that we work with. It blows my mind, and so it's really a privilege to have you guys here. And we're going to view each and one of you not just as a name to put on a list and then somebody to say that we met, but really to build a relationship with you as part of the mission that we're trying to accomplish. So we really appreciate that. So with that, we're going to get into some thank yous for the evening before we move on to the main event, which is to honor some really fantastic and wonderful individuals. First of all, I don't want to get somber, but we did have quite a significant and unfortunate tragedy last night, so I do want to acknowledge the victims of the shootings in California last night, including those in law enforcement, the Institute, and I'm sure all of our hearts go out to those who are affected by another unfortunate, senseless tragedy in our nation. I also do want to ask every active duty and veteran to stand up who's in the room. Don't be shy. Please be seated. Of course, ICIT thanks all of you for your current or former service and all of our men and women in service. Of course, as a nonprofit, our sponsors are extremely important to doing what we do, and particularly tonight because we're not at the Hyatt, we're not at the Hilton, we're at the St. Regis. So, and we just had lobster. That's right. Well, Kathy, we know we got to do that again. That's the first time I've ever had an applause for dinner. First of all, I want to thank our platinum sponsor, Micro Focus Government Solutions. We appreciate you. I want to thank our gold sponsors, MasterCard, Securonics, and SRS Community Reuse Organization. I want to thank you. And I want to thank our patron sponsors, Capital Technology University, Gemini Data, RSA, and Solar Winds. We thank you. I also want to thank our fellow program member organizations and some individuals that are here. I mentioned earlier we've kind of made some changes to the way that we run the organization. Fellow program member organizations actually do contribute financially to the Institute, and they're very important to allowing us to do the research that we do. So these organizations that I'm mentioning have contributed financially throughout the year. Micro Focus Government Solutions, who's a cabinet level member, which means they are extremely generous with us, as well as DLT, KPMG, Silence, and MasterCard. So thank you guys very much for all your support throughout the year. As well as for the first time, we get to acknowledge some organizations who have sent fellows. Now, these individuals are nonetheless very important to us. They're contributing thought leadership to us, which includes MITRE, Leonardo DRS, Simon Data, Unisant, and Vulcan Enterprise. So we're happy to have your thought leadership contributions to the Institute. I also want to thank our media partner, Epoch Times, Jan Yalik and Josh Phillip. Where are you two? There they are. So Epoch Times, the media partner, first of all, they saved us about $5,000 by donating video recording of tonight's event, so it's great contribution to us. Yes. What's also really interesting about these guys, they're not just any media partner. Their motto is truth of tradition, and they're an incredible organization. Their origins hail from a group of Chinese journalists that really needed an outlet to be able to publish and speak freely about the Communist Party in China, and they started their own newspaper, and now they are a global organization with hundreds of millions of impressions around the world, and they put out great content. They help us get our content out there. Josh, who I mentioned, is somebody who we've actually worked with. He's an expert in Chinese warfare and great power competition and Chinese economic espionage, and I've introduced him to many people because, I mean, you talk to him from a kind of Chinese cyber warfare perspective, he will blow your mind. So if you are interested in that topic, you should go talk to him because he will fascinate you and scare you at the same time. So, and then also I want to point, everyone look to that corner of the room, to Kathy. Kathy is our event operations director. And everyone always thanks me for putting on a great event, but actually she's the reason why this is so wonderful, so she deserves all the thanks.